right. So we are starting week 6. We're on the downward slide now. We're over half over. It's going fast. Um, but in this, yeah, it's hard to believe. I know. Yeah, summer classes go fast. Um, so this week we have our exam 2. So we'll do our review for that. But we have 2 labs, the project VLANs and then the lab WAN links. So those are due this week as well. So um, do you have any questions on any of the labs yet, or any, or even the IP subnetting project or anything like that? I have to look back at them again. Okay. All right. Just making sure. Um, Especially the IP subnetting, that one's coming up. I think it's due. I think it's due week 8. So you still got some time on that one, but it's a big project and it's a big effort. So uh, make sure you still have that one on your radar, because all right, yeah, just gonna chip away at each one. Yeah, that exactly. That's the only way to do that, is just take it a little bit at a time. Yeah. Although I know like the hardest one is right there in that first one for the server. So that, don't get too discouraged on that one. But the hardest subnetting problem is right there in those first like 4 subnetting problems. So in the section 0. So um, so if it gets too much of it, you can always move on to another one. That's all I'm saying, and ask for assistance. I expect a lot of people will ask for assistance on that one, because it's trying to figure out like the uh, is it the 100? Well, let me even pull it up. Let's see here. I'll just have to go at it this way, because I don't want to download it again. Um, and subnetting lab. Um, okay. Why is that not? Well, that's not good. Maybe I will have to download it. Make sure that's working. Yeah. Yeah, that was not good that it didn't pull up. Okay, this looks better. So I don't know what happened on the other one. All right. So PC0. Right. Um, right. So here is is where you use the 21,590th subnet, right? So, um, yeah, that's the hard one, because yeah, that's a lot of subnets, right? Because you got 131,072 networks, different networks, and then um, I ask you to use the 21,590th subnet for the server 0 and the router between this server here and the router. So that is by far, in my opinion, probably the hardest one. So don't worry about it. If you run into issues, um, uh, we can always go over that. I'm sure I'll go over it in one of the videos here, one of our meetings, just because it's a little tricky. Um, the rest of them shouldn't be too bad. They ask like network 24 or something like that. It's not so hard. Um, but yeah, so don't wait on this though, because week 8 is going to be here before we know it. Um, so, all right. Um, yeah, it definitely flies by, and we cover so much each week, and it is incredible in the summer. All right. Well, if there's no other questions, I guess we'll just do the review. Uh, okay. So we'll just take an exam. Running through all of them anyway. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Best way is to study those quizzes. All right. Well, there we go. All right. So encrypted control of remote computers using RDP protocol is accomplished using what port? See, no, that's SSH, but that's a good guess. That's another remote control. It's 3389 is RDP. Uh, all right, of all the DSL standards, which is the most commonly in use today? B. Uh, I don't think, I mean, that's symmetric. I want to think, yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but I want to think it's the ADSL, because it's got um, higher download speeds than upload speeds. But we'll find out. But I want to say it's the ADSL. Uh, Routing Information Protocol, or RIP, is the interior gateway protocol that uses a link state algorithm. True or false? True. No, it's false. I do believe it's false, right? You're doing great so far. In the frame relay WAN, the ISP typically has the data circuit terminating equipment. True. Yeah, that is true. Okay. Path ping utility sends 10 pings per hop by default. That is false. Right? No, that's okay. uh, which of the following layer 1 WAN technologies is not normally used as the last mile service, but rather traverses multiple ISP networks, connecting the networks to the internet backbone? So basically, it's the internet backbone, is really what it is. A, right? Yeah, the synchronous optical network. Yeah. What is by far the most popular DNS server software available? D, right? Bind. Bind is the most popular DNS software. All right. When an 802.1q tag is added to an Ethernet frame, where is it placed? Uh, no, good try, but it's in between. It's B. It's the source address and the Ethernet type field. Yes, good one, Sarah. Yeah. You are troubleshooting a DNS issue on a Linux system and need to test the resolution of your domain mycompany.com MX record using Google's DNS server with the IP address of 8.8.8.8. What dig command will accomplish this? No, it's actually A, and I just, I don't know why, but I just always associate the at symbol with the mail, and so, but yeah, it's dig at, yeah, uh, that's understandable. I mean, yeah, unless you use these queries a lot, I mean, you, yeah, it's really hard to get them all straight. Um, what command can you utilize to display TCP/IP configuration information for each network adapter installed? No, it's actually the slash all, right? So to show all the network cards or each network card, it's the slash all. All right, you are troubleshooting a network issue on a client computer and discover that the network card has an IP address of 169.254.196.200. What does it mean? Said D, but was unable to lease an address. Yes, D is a good answer. Right. Yeah, because it's set for DHCP, but you can't find the DHCP server or can't get the address. Because this 169.254 range is the automatic IP addressing. So, when you first get a machine or whatever, if you turn it on, it'll get this address, and you can create a network of machines, and they'll each get their own 169.254 address, and be able to talk on the network to each other, and no one would have this duplicate IP address. It's designed to work that way. But typically, if you see this for most situations, because most computers are set for DHCP, a 169.254 address means that you either don't have a network connection or something's wrong with your network connection, usually. When using IPv6, what would a /64 network likely be assigned to? C, small organization or business. That's correct, right? Because a /64 is our smallest network in IPv6. Right. Although MPLS can operate over Ethernet frames, it's more often used with other layer 2 protocols like those designed for WANs. That is true. Yes. Uh, on an ATM network, how is the path that the data will take determined? B, right. It switches, determine the optimal path between the sender and receiver, and then establish the path before transmission. And I always just think of it as ATM as a switched network. So, what type of virtual circuit allows connections to be established when the parties need to transmit, then terminated after transmission is complete? B is a good guess, right? So between dynamic and switch, but it's a switch virtual circuit, right? Because it's switching between and terminating, right? So it's a switched, but that's a good try on the dynamic. The others two wouldn't make sense. Um, which statement regarding the use of cable modems is not accurate? B, right. Cable modems do not operate only at the physical layer. They operate at multiple layers. So B is not accurate. UDP port 123 is utilized by the Network Time Protocol service. True or false? Yep, yep, true. Excellent. All right. By default, what is the MTU size of a typical Ethernet network? C. That's a good guess. It's 1500, and 1522 is when we use the VLANs, right? V 1500. So I can see that because these are both used on the Ethernet networks, but it's 1500 is the default. What is the purpose of the checksum TCP field? That sure is a question, yeah. See, return message to the sender. No, it's B. C is kind of close, but it allows the receiving node to determine whether the segments became corrupted during transmission, right? So it's a checksum. So basically, what it does is for the better part of, it hashes the data and creates that checksum number. And so when the receiver gets it, they create their own number. And if it's the same, then the data is not corrupt. So that's what that checksum number does. It allows it to know that the packet is exactly as it was sent. In the classical addressing scheme, what range of network address is considered a class B? A, yes, A, 128 through 191, right? Yeah, that is the class B range. All right. DSL services require many subscribers to share the same local line, causing potential security concerns. It is false, actually. That's cable, right? Cable modems do that. DSL has the phone line, so you got a single connection. All right, the 1024 to 65,535 range of ports is also known as the well-known range. That is false, right? Right, false, right? Yeah, you got under 1024 is the well-known range. All right, which of the following statements regarding IPv6 subnetting is not accurate? C, right, well, it doesn't use, it, yeah, so this is not accurate. So, right. So B, right, the largest subnet is capable of being created as a /64. That is incorrect. It is the small, /64 is the smallest subnet that we can be created. So that's inaccurate. The rest are true. When using IPv6, two or more nodes on the same link are said to be neighbors. True, yeah. Exactly true, yeah. What statement regarding the server message block protocol is accurate? Okay. Use to synchronize red ice SCSI. No, it's not A. I'm thinking the best answer here is C. Used by Windows and Unix based operating systems to share files. What utility is the equipment? Well, we'll see. Yeah, I could be wrong on that one. But what utility is the equivalent to the path ping command on a Linux system? B. No, it is not hping. It is mtr. Is the equivalent to path ping. That one is just, you just got to remember that one. But TCP uses a four-step process called a four-way handshake to establish TCP connections. True or false? It is false. It's a three-way handshake. Yeah, it's a three-way handshake. That's, yeah. Yeah, you got it. What command will list only current connections, including IP addresses and port numbers? B. No, no. It's a netstat command is what we're wanting to do, and since we want to see port numbers, we want the -n. So that's how I remember it: is netstat -n is port numbers, gives us the numbers. The netstat -s gives us statistics, and I think there's another question in this chapter that deals with statistics, and so the -s gives statistics, the -n gives us port numbers. That's how I keep it straight. WAN connect nodes such as workstations, servers, printers, and other device in a small geographical area on a single network. That is false, right? It's a large geographical network, right? Routing protocols that enable routers to communicate beyond neighboring routers allow each router to independently map the network are known as which type of protocols? D, yeah, the link state protocol. Yeah. A hexadecimal number is a number written in the base 16 number system. That is true. Yeah, that is true. Which of the following is not a range of IP addresses recommended for use in private networks? D. No, D is a class A. That's our class A. Um, yeah, it's C. Our loopback address is the 127 network, right? So that's not it's not a network. It's a loopback addresses. It's just for testing. We can't assign it for private networks. The rest are other, this the 172.16 to 172.31. That's our class B, and 192.168 is our class C. So we got three private networks. A, B, and D are the private networks, and C is our loopback. In a cellular network, where does each wireless base station connect to? C, D. No, it is actually A, mobile switching center. Which statement regarding the border gateway protocol is accurate? Communicating. I don't think, to be honest, I am not even sure on this one. I'm not very familiar with BGP. I never had to deal with BGP too much, so we'll go with A. We'll see what it is. Yeah, to be honest, I'm thinking it's an exclusively distance vector protocol, but yeah, not sure on that one. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, can't know everything. On Cisco switch, what would the Security Association identifier be for LAN 13, VLAN 13? C. No, it is D. It's sure a lot of numbers. Yeah, I know. Yeah, this exam is a lot of numbers. But it's D. The 100,013 is the Security Association for LAN 13. All right. What happens when a router receives a packet with a time to live of 0? B, the router drops the packet and sends the ICMP time to life expire message back to the host. That is correct. It does drop the packet. Multiplexing enables a single T1 circuit to carry how many channels? B. Yeah, B. I believe it is correct with 24. In North America, when ISDN connection, what ISDN connection type used 2 B channels and 1 D channel? C, dedicated rate. No, it's not dedicated rate. So here's one that, yeah. So if I were guessing in this one, right? And just if you have no idea, I mean, BRI, these two BRIs, you see that there's multiple choices of the BRI. That's a good hint that one of them is probably correct because they're trying to confuse you, right? Um, and so it's the basic rate identifier, BRI. But at least you could, if you're guessing, and you see things that are very close, like the BRI, PRI, BRI, I mean, well, these are all DRIs, but in a lot of cases, when you got a lot of the very similars, usually the dissimilar one isn't correct. But then, so, I mean, if I were guessing, I would have guessed between these two. You have a 50-50 chance. Yeah, I mean, it just for technology exams, um, that just seems to be the case. I won't say for a lot of other exams, but when you're doing certification exams, things like that, or exams in the technology area, we uh, they tend to try to confuse you, but then that also gives you a flag when you don't know, because they are trying to confuse you, right? And they do that in medical exams too. Okay, well that may be. I got a lot of experience taking technology exams, so I just give them those little tips and tricks. At least if you're going to make a guess, yeah. Try to use the information they give you. And then a lot of times, synonyms, if you know the synonyms of words, a lot of times they'll do that, and the question will be the answer. It'll be the synonym of one of the words in the question. So those are flags too. But anyway, yeah, 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 nice, yeah. Uh, the C-band utilized by satellites consists of what frequency range? Again, no, nothing. Right. We did this the last time, and I'm thinking it's 3.4 to 6 gigahertz. Uh, but I'll be honest, I know very little about satellites as well. Yeah, right. The distance from the planet, right? Yeah. If the VLAN tag is present in an Ethernet frame, what is the maximum frame size? So here's the VLAN present in the Ethernet frame. What is the maximum frame size? Right, right. I do believe it's the 1522, and the 1500 is the default frame size. Um, DNS follows a centralized database model, allowing for easier management of DNS records. False, right? It's a hierarchical, right? So you got servers that control the top level domain like .com, and then the actual domain owner controls the DNS, right? Like Microsoft or Google, so it's a hierarchical database model. IPv6 addressing does not utilize classful addressing, therefore every IPv6 address is classless. That is true, right? There is no such thing as class like IPv4. In a public switch telephone network, what portion of the network is known as the local loop? C, yes, absolutely. It's the portion that connects any resident or business to the nearest central office. It's also kind of considered like the last mile, but it's the local loop. Yeah. All right. A subnet of 255.255.2480 can be represented by what CIDR notation? So D, 21, I do believe that is correct. So 255 is 16, and then 192 or 128, 192, 192, 224, 240, 248. So 5, yeah. So 16 plus 5 is 21. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. What text editor can be used on Linux to view and edit the contents of a configuration file? A, yeah, VIM, right? It's immeasurable. What occurs when a collision happens on a network? D, each node on the network waits a random amount of time and then resends the transmission. That is correct. Uh, on a Linux-based system, what command can be used to display TCP/IP information associated with every interface on the system? A, that's great. Yep. ifconfig is Linux, where ipconfig is Windows. So, yeah. So ifconfig. Linux is weird, right? It is definitely different, yeah. All right. Each organization that provides host services on the public internet is responsible for providing and maintaining DNS or authoritative servers for public access. It's actually true. Yeah, you should. Somebody has to, house the DNS authoritative servers for each domain. And all that is needed to provide communication between two VLANs is a DHCP relay agent. That is false, right? What do we need? A router, exactly. Yeah. IP is unreliable connectionless protocol as it does not establish a session to send its packets. It's actually true because that's why we have TCP, right? TCP does the control and connection. Well, uh, it does a lot of the connection part, reliability, etc. But yeah, so IP itself is unreliable, so that's why we do TCP/IP. All right, let's see how we did. We're, it's a true, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. A lot of times you gotta believe your first instincts. So, all right, so we did miss one. All right, not too bad. Um, all right, so RDP uses port 3389, which is good. ADSL is the more common DSL, and that's just because they give you more download speed than upload speed. Um, and then routing information protocol RIP is not an interior gateway protocol using link state. Uh, In a frame relay WAN, the ISP typically has data circuit terminating equipment, DCEs, and that is correct. The ISP does have the DCE. That's true. Path ping does not send 10 pings per hop by default. Which of the following layer 1 technologies is not used as the last mile service and used, but rather traverses multiple ISPs. That's the Sonnet network. Bind is the most popular DNS server. .802.1q tag is added to the Ethernet frame. Where is it placed? It's inserted between the source address and the Ethernet type field. All right. And then if we're wanting to query the MSX record on a Linux machine, we would use the dig at 8888 and then the domain name and then MX. That's if we want to use Google's free DNS servers, which are located at 8.8.8.8.8. What command can you utilize to display TCP IP config information for each network adapter? And that's the IP config /all. All right, you're troubleshooting a network issue on a client computer and discover the network card has an IP address of 169.254.196.200. What does it mean? And the computer is configured to use DHCP, but it was unable to obtain a lease. When using IPv6, what would a /64 network likely be assigned to? And you got it right. Was that smaller network, smaller organization or business? Because that's the smallest network on IPv6 is /64. Although MPLS can operate over Ethernet frames, it is more often used with other layer 2 protocols like those designed for WANs, and that is correct. Then on an ATM switch network, right? Remember switch network, how is the path and data it will take determined, and it's the switches determine the optimal path between sender and receiver, and then establish the path before transmission. What type of virtual circuit allows connections to be established when parties need to transmit, then terminated after the transmission is complete? And that's the switched virtual circuit network, SVC. Which statement regarding the use of cable modems is not accurate? And that is the cable modems do not only operate, right? So they operate at physical layer, so they operate at the data link layer as well, but not just the physical layer. So that is not true of a cable modem. UDP port 123 is utilized by the network time protocol, and that is correct. And the default MTU size for a typical Ethernet network is 1500 bytes. What is the purpose of the checksum TCP field? And it allows us to receive the receiving node to determine whether the TCP segments became corrupted during transmission. In the classful address scheme, what range of network addresses is considered a class B? And that is the 128.0 to the 191.255. Those are class B addresses. I hit true. Anyway, sorry. DSL services require many subscribers to share the same local line, causing potential security concerns. And that is false. That's a cable. And I apparently hit the wrong button there. So yeah. Yeah, and it's easy to do. Yeah, nobody's perfect, right? But yeah, that's our missed question. We got it right, but I didn't mark it right. So yeah, so the ports under 1024 are the well-known ports. So that answer is false. Which of the following statements regarding IPv6 subnetting is not accurate? The largest IPv6 subnet capable of being created is not a /64, right? /64 is the smallest network that we can create. When using IPv6, 2 or more nodes on the same link are said to be neighbors. That is true. What statement regarding the server message block protocol is accurate? It's used by Windows and Unix-based operating systems to share files. What utility is the equivalent to the path ping command on a Linux system? That's MTR. And TCP uses a 3-step process, or called a 3-way handshake, not a 4-way. So this is false. And then we want a command that will list our current connections, including IP addresses and port numbers. We would use the netstat-in for numbers. WAN connect nodes such as workstation servers, printers, and WANs connect nodes such as workstation servers, printers, and other devices in a large geographical network. So this is false because it's not a small geographical area. Routing protocols that enable routers to communicate beyond neighboring routers, allowing each router to independently map the network, are known as what type of protocols? And it's link state protocols. And then it is true that a hexadecimal number is a number written in the base 16 number system. And which of the following is not a range of IP addresses recommended for use in a private network? And that's our loopback addresses on the 127 range. The cellular network, where does each wireless base station connect to? And they connect to the mobile switching center. And which statement regarding the border gateway protocol is accurate? And you were correct. BGP utilizes TCP for communicating updates. So that is correct. Good job. And on a Cisco switch, what would the Security Association identifier number be for VLAN 13? That's 100,013. Answer D here. And then what happens when a router receives the packet with a time to live of 0, and the router drops the packet and sends an ICMP time to live expired message back to the host. Multiplexing enables a single T1 circuit to carry how many channels? And it's 24. That's correct. And then in North America, what ISDN connection type uses 2 B channels and 1 D channel? And that is the basic rate interface BRI. And lo and behold, we got the satellite question right. C-band utilized by satellites consistent of what frequency range? 3.4 to 6.7 gigahertz. I thought that was it, but yeah. But I'm glad it was. And then if the VLAN tag is present in the Ethernet frame, what is the maximum frame size? It's 1522, right? 1500 is our MTU, but when we use VLANs, then we go to 1522. DNS follows a centralized database model allowing for easier management is false. Okay. And then IPv6 addressing does not utilize classful addresses, therefore every IP6 address is classless. That is true. In a public switch telephone network, what portion of the network is known as the local loop? And it is the portion that connects any resident or business to the nearest central office, the local loop. And then a subnet of 255.255.244.0 can be represented by Watt-Sider notation, and you were correct in the /21, right? Because we're borrowing 5 bits from here. We already had 16, so it's 21. Text editor that can be used on Linux to view and edit the contents of a configuration file is a VIM. What occurs when a collision happens on a network and each node on the network waits a random amount of time and then resends the transmission? On a Linux-based system, what command can be used to display TCP/IP information associated with every interface on the system? And that's ifconfig-a. And each organization that provides host services on the public internet is responsible for providing and maintaining DNS authoritative servers for public access, and that is correct. That is true. And all that is needed to provide communication between two VLANs is a router, not a DHCP relay agent. So this is false. IP is unreliable connectionless protocol as it does not establish a session to send its packets, and that is true, right? That's why it uses TCP. All right, so that's an example exam. I pared them down to 50 questions. So I was looking at this this morning, and I had them at 80. I was like, that's just not right. So you got 30 less questions to answer. So there'll be 50 questions on this exam, and it's due by Sunday. And then, of course, it's proctored by Proctorio. Sarah, since you joined a little late, I already asked, do you have any labs or anything that you would like to go over?
Well, I already did the LAN and the WAN. I'm just trying to learn the thing I sent you in the email about the IP.
Right.
I was just saying,
Okay.
I didn't really read your email yet because I've been watching this.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. Me and IP addresses, we're not best friends.
No, I get that. Yeah, and subnetting takes a while. It takes a while for everyone to grasp and get a hold of. I mean, that's so don't worry too much. But I can go over that one if you wanted.
Okay.
Yeah. So let me grab that here. Let's see here. Let's just click OK here. So what I'll just do is let me see if I remember correctly here. So I don't know why that's doing that. Okay, so we'll see if this will work. So that was a 172.24.00, correct?
Yeah, 172.24.0.0.
All right. Okay, and we wanted to divide this into 32 networks with 2,046 hosts, right? Usable, right? Mm-hmm. Which means it's 2,048 total IPs, right? One for the network and one for the broadcast, right? Okay. So to create 32 networks, how many bits do we have to borrow from the hosts to create 32 networks?
Eight? 6?
No.
12?
Right. So, all right. So each bit we borrow is a power of 2, right? So if we borrow one bit, we can create two networks. If we borrow 2 bits, we can create four. 3 bits is 8. 4 bits is 16, and 5 bits is 32. All right. So we borrow 30, or borrow 5 bits, we can create 32 networks. All right. So, all right. So this is a class B address, right? It's
Yes.
172, right? So that means we had 16 bits for network and 16 bits for hosts, right? So we're going to borrow 5 bits to create 32 networks. So now we're going to have 21 bits for networks and 11 bits for hosts, right?
Okay.
That makes sense. All right. So before with 16 bits for host, these 0 zeros, right? Those are the bits, right? Because this is the default mask is 255 255 250 2525500, right? So we had 16 bits for host as a typical class B, and which means we have 6,536 IPs, right? And 65,534 usable, right? Um, Total IPs and then usable. So now we have 11, right? So that's, you know, I just usually go with 10. I just remember 10 is 1,024, right? So 1,024 times 2, because we have 11, is 2,048 total, and it's 2,046 usable, which that's what we want, right? So we're correct. We can create 32 networks, and we can have 2,046 usable IPs if we borrow 5 bits, right? Does that make sense so far?
Yeah, that makes sense so far.
Okay. So if we borrow 5 bits, right, our subnet mask is going to be what is our subnet mask going to be if we borrow 5 bits?
You said my math?
All right. So help you out. So right, our bits are in values. Each of these octets that that have the zeros when we're first starting, right? Um, you have these values, um, and then it'll start again. So there's two ranges. Let me do this. 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. All right, so those are the 16 bits. Oops. Right? And if you borrow the bits, you borrow from left to right. So we borrow these 5 bits, the 128, 64, 32, 16. Oops, how did I? There we go. So we borrow the 128, 64, 32, 16, and the 8-bit, right? So we just add those up and we get our subnet mask. So you've got 128 plus 64 plus 32 plus 16 plus 8. Right, is 248. You see how I did that?
Okay.
All right, so then that's our subnet mask is 248.0. So now we're asked to use the last usable, if I remember right, the last usable of network 24.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. So we want to use the last usable IP of network 24. So, all right, so we borrowed five bits, right? But
Okay.
that leaves 11 bits, right? So I'm just gonna do I'm gonna do 0. So these three though are in our interesting octet, if you will, right? Because this is where it starts. This is where our network is going to end and begin, right? It's going to be here because the wherever the network ends, right? These bits are part of the network now, and this is the host. So this is where um, our networks are going to end and start at is that third octet. Does that make sense? Because this is where the border is, if you will, right?
Okay.
The separation. So it's going to happen here in this octet, and we only have 3 bits though that we can generate numbers for, right?
Right.
So 2 to the third is 8. So our networks are going to go up by 8, right? So our first network is going to be 172.24.0.0, right? Because that's the first one. And then our next network is going to start at 8. And our next one is going to start at 16, right? Uh, does that make sense?
So
Because
so you said we had 11 left over, but we're only
right,
using 3 of them though, right? And we're putting
right.
them in by. So how come we're only using 3 of them and not like 9 or something and leaving 2 over?
Right, because we're only interested in this in the interesting octet really, and because this is where the network stops and ends, right? Is in this octet, right? And we want to account for all of them. So, but so this goes from 172.24.0 to 172.24.7.255, right? That'll be the broadcast number. So this is the broadcast, right? Um, so this is going to go from 0 to 7, and 255. But so let's look at it this way. In that last octet, we have 8 bits, right? We have eight bits available, right? And then we have three here, which is a total of 11. All right. So
Okay.
these 8 can only represent 256 numbers, right?
Okay.
Okay. And we've got 2048, 2046 usable, but 2048 addresses available with 11 bits, right?
Okay.
So if we take 2048 and divide that by 256, which is that last octet, the 8 bits, we get 8. So we have to go through that 8 times. If we go through it 8 times, we get 2048 addresses. So between 2400 and 247255, there are 2,048 addresses because we went through 8 times 0 to 7, right? We because there was 256. But we also got that by going over here and saying, oh, this octet only has 3, and this is where the network stops and ends. And 2 to the third, we can only represent 8 different combinations. So that means that, to get to the next network, we would go up by 8. So we're going up by 8. And does that, I know it's a little hard, but there's multiple ways to get there, right?
Right.
Because you know that the 8 bits in the last octet is 256. So you take however many, the 2048 divided by 256, that gives you 8. That's another indication that you need to go up by 8. So that's an easy, quicker way to determine. But it's also, you can do it this way by the interesting octet. But then once you get what you're going up by 8, so now we can go 24. The 24th network times 8 is 192, but we're 0 based, right?
Yeah.
So we have to take that number and subtract 8 from it. So it's 184. So our 24th network will be, we'll just put it down here, 172, 24, 184.0, and then it'll go to the broadcast of 24, 192, right? Oops, not 0, but 255. So that'll be our broadcast for the 24th network.
Okay.
All right. And then to get the last usable, we just subtract 1 from our broadcast, right? So we get our 172, 24, 190, 191, 254. I'm sorry. This is 191. The 25th network is 172, 24, 192. Okay.
That makes a lot more sense. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Okay.
Because before I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh my God. Like,
yeah.
Oh my God.
Right.
I better do really well on all my exams.
Yeah. No, yeah. Subnetting's not easily grasped by anyone, right? Usually, I mean, there's a select few people that get it, but a lot of times they've done a lot of math and enjoy math, and it might just click for them. But I rarely see it just click for anyone. we just don't do things that way. Yeah, it takes a minute, right? Yeah. Yeah, takes time, and we just move pretty fast in the summer course too. So and that it we'll have time. You'll get it. I mean, we've got enough time to get through it, but yeah, it's not really hard math either, right? It's just looking at it differently.
Yeah, just trying to find those right key terms that make you go, oh, okay, well,
right.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
And little tips and tricks of doing things, even just doing it longhand. Because I'll admit I'm not super with just looking at IP, like in the exam or whatever. I still have to just kind of count it out and just know which ones, because I don't deal with them on a daily basis. So that, some people they can just look at it. Oh yeah, that's in the wrong subnet, right? I do have to do a little bit of figuring, but Um, Even now, as many years as I've dealt with them, but I don't deal with them on a daily basis, and but I just use my tips and tricks, to get there, and just listing these out and just adding them together to get your subnets, and then knowing that 256, right, is 8, and yeah, it helps, it just um, yeah.
Well, I
But yeah,
appreciate it. I'm sure I might come to you a couple more times on different things, and you'd be like, okay.
no,
I apologize in advance.
no, don't apologize. That's what I'm here for. I'm okay with it. More than okay. I enjoy it when students come to me with questions. So don't ever worry about that. All right. Well, anything else either of you would like to cover? You're good. Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm good too. I'm gonna try doing some of this on my own and
Yep.
see where I'm at. I appreciate you.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you too. All right. Well, that's all I have today then. You please enjoy your week, and just don't forget to study the quizzes, so you can do well on the exam. Yeah, you too. Yeah. And thank you for coming on Monday instead of Wednesday. We'll be back on Wednesdays next week. Um, but yeah, I have a meeting this Wednesday that I couldn't avoid. You're welcome. Have to, yeah. See, now you got your good start to your week, right? There we go. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Monday mornings. Well, at least we got a good start to it. We covered a lot. And did did pretty good for a Monday. Uh, well, I will say goodbye to you and have a good week. I have to kind of see if I can find some lunch. Commission to finish and some chores. There you go. All right, you enjoy. All right, we'll see you. Bye. Oh.